Yeah. Now it's the maybe we can do a little bit to study, continue, and also when we are concerned in the transitory nature and transitory. When we are talking about the transitory, it is like something is like transform one place to other place. And also when we are talking about the impermanence, something is like existent things is like become the non-existence. And in this perspective, maybe we can to analyze the subtle things. And it doesn't matter external universal or the inner living beings. And even our own self, everything is like built up by the different aggregations, particles. And when we look at our body or compare the universal, it's both is like form. And then this form is like to look really form, or maybe it's even that we look at this cup or table, mandala, any. And this is, we talking about transform momentary nature. So. And when we look at them, this inside, this each things are, it's a single or many. And it's the eternally or like outer in the universal. We are talking about a continent, four continent, subcontinent, up and down. There's 4 or 5, the 8 or 10 big directions. And in this perspective, also the outer, the environment, the universal is not single. It's the parts of the particle and different parts. And then it's like go more deeply. And even the universal is like kind of a sand pipe. It's a form. It is like many particles. And even the particles, also particle. Particle. Go deeply. It's difficult to something to find the source, concrete things. And then it's like what it is. And also our bodies. When we look at our body, it's not only one, different limb, different part, head, leg, arms, lung, stomach, many different parts. It is like kind of pile of the different parts. Different part, it is the different particle. Different particle is different nanoparticles. And if you searching like this, they finally what it is. But in the relatively, we saying is the changing something. But the reality is what it is changing. Of course, if you don't analyze, yes, there is changing process. Changing into what? And then it's with thinking about the impermanence of the times. With time is like past, future, and present. Past, future is between there is we have present. And we say it's like the present, these times, For example, if I put my fingers in between the past and the futures, then this finger is two-sided. And where is this present? Because this part is connected to the past, this connected to the futures. Between there is what? And then, no, there is, you cut it, this two part, you go to the middle, and go to the middle. Finally, there's nothing existence, even the nano betweens. And then it's like past, future, this between, there is no connections. How it is connections? What is the changing really is the process. If you do not analyze, of course, there is past, future, present, something there is. And when we analyze the impermanent, same times we can kind of discovered how it is the nature of those phenomena, how you can to say something. These particles, this between these times. Some in the philosophical realities to look at this. There's nothing, something is like things are the single particles. No existence. And therefore we say it's like kind of the reality is the space. Cup is space, space itself is the cup. When I touch the cup is I can touch you. This is not space. No? Touching my finger itself is space. Space touch space. Space eating space. Space produce space. Space dissolve into the space. And if you go to deeply like this kind of philosophical or the analysis, it is so wonderful. Really, wow, how it is. It is you become better than the normal science. And also the times like this. I'm all the time talking the past, last year, last month, next year, next month, next days. Transforming, impermanence. What is? Go to the between, there is no connections. My body is the first body. I cannot bring the second. How it is transformed? There's no link, there's no connections. If you say the first is forming, coming to the next one, then there's not change, there's no transformation. There's no changing process. Because first and the second is the different. First is the first, second is the second. We say transform, is impermanent. My young, fresh, like face, body changed. How it is it changed? Sometimes there's no connections. But changing is the space itself. But we don't understand, there is changing. Therefore, we are analysis, investigating, impermanent, deeply, seriously, honestly, using these different methods, material philosophy, valid cognition. Certainly something discovered, amazing things into our minds. How it is. Sometimes even the true analysis, you can to realize it inconceivable. It's like a realization or understanding in these phenomena. I'm thinking everything is impermanent, transforming, transitory natures. What transcend? One is going to others. There is no budding, even the between there's no place. What is to transform? That is kind of the go beyond this in the relative confusions and transference or the transmigrations or the like kind of the transitory natures. And that is like maybe it's like a Buddha, he researched like this. Finally he said, I discovered. I said, what you discovered? Something special. Buddha, he immediately is, oh, like this, maybe not. He analyzed. He made many different philosophers and also religious practitioners, science. And he's like kind of studied all the Veda educations. He has based on such knowledge. He analyzed, maybe he analyzed the like kind of the impermanent. Certainly he discovered this peace, natural maker freedom of from the impermanent through this analysis and through this investigation. Therefore, it's very important to concern universes like this, inner beings like this, between sentient beings like this. My body is like external body, 5 aggregations, like this. Wow, how it is this reality. Therefore, it is too a little bit concerning is very important. Even your own the domestic animals, sheep, goats, ducks, how many have died in the past and how many are still alive? And also this is like kind of the wonderful things. And our these domestic animals, most animal is a very short life, 10, 15, maybe most are alive 20 years. How many they are showing that impermanent. And in this perspective, impermanent, changing transitarians, and understood and more deeply to analyze, maybe we can to discover the nature of the impermanent and the essential, the feature of the impermanent. At that moment, the reflect on the impermanent, realize that the nature of the impermanent, and these realizations bring us go beyond the suffering of the impermanent. Maybe it is the wonderful. And therefore, if you really to study, it is very, very important. Like this. Now I think at 12:30 we need to stop there. If you want to study, it's more like this, it's wonderful. And I want to say bon appétit. Sonam de tamche zikpanyo, tomnini padana pang. She ganan chi walab tupai, sipan solin, drokandro,